Hello and welcome, Bram. Thank you so much for joining us. Co-founder of Arfected and also a creator on our marketplace, Blend Market as well. So for those out there who don't know you, could you give us a little intro? Tell us about yourself and also your agency.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Bram, or Bram in native Dutch. We're based in the Netherlands, and I founded Arfected almost 3 years ago now, really back when the wave of the social AR trend just started to roll. And our expertise was quickly recognized as one of the first 80 official Snapchat lens creators. And quickly after that, one of the first Instagram filter creators, back when the Instagram filter part were still in beta. And I started out as a freelancer actually to work with creative agencies in the Netherlands and in the UK to build these social AR experiences. But I quickly noticed that the expertise needed for the 3D development and for the actual programming with filters, I just didn't have enough expertise. So we grew the team to 7 over the period of the past 3 years.
Great, fantastic. Congratulations, what a success story. And you just saw that opportunity and you've been growing ever since. In your 2021 trends report, you talk about a whole host of things that we can try and we should be looking out for and that we can be using immersive technologies for. Do you mind just taking us through a couple of those and talking us through what the insights were?
Yeah, sure thing. So I think as a more general approach on what to expect is that the phones that we have in our hands are just about to get smarter and smarter every day. So with, for example, machine learning on Snapchat, you're able to now detect feet, you can detect hands, you can detect full bodies in 3D. So you're able to actually place 3D models on the things that you can detect. So you can place shoes on your feet, you can place a jacket on your entire body that will accurately follow the movements in 3D of your body. So I think it's really capabilities like that that will be further established and that brands will get more and more used to. And besides that, we see that those try-on experiences are just a really quick way for a brand to just get their product out there, get a new generation to try out whatever they're selling. Especially now with like stores being closed and no one being able to actually shop physically, this is like an excellent way for brands to jump on visualizing their product and just getting it out there.
And even digital products as well. So we've all seen the Gucci trainers that are possible to buy as digital assets, so that you can take a photo of that and share that on your social channels.
Yeah, exactly. So we might even get to a world where we don't have to go outside anymore. We just wear the virtual Gucci sneakers and stay inside all day.
I hope not. One of the projects that caught my eye was the partnership that you had with Ralph Lauren and Snap. And I was really curious to understand what it was that you set out to achieve and then kind of how you went about doing that. Well, we can all see the end result, and I'll link to that in this in the description of this video. But if you can take us through some of the background thinking, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So the collaboration was actually between Ralph Lauren, Snapchat, and Studio Enric. And we worked with Studio Enric and their 3D team. We took care of the development mostly, and it was a really exclusive partnership between Snapchat and Ralph Lauren, where just scanning the Ralph Lauren logo was enough to trigger the lens to appear. So it's not just like you had to open a link to open the lens, but really just scanning that logo was enough to make it open. So Studio Enric directed the project, and we took care of the development side. And we did run into a couple of challenges. The first one, the one that we often run into, is the 4 megabyte limit, the file size limit. We only have 4 megabytes to build the entire awesome experience. And the 3D team had amazing plans for the model. So we really had to put our heads together to figure out a way to bring like that same level of intended quality to fit in that 4 megabytes. So I think one of the biggest challenges that we had was the way the ribbon animates. the animation itself just cost us several megabytes already. So we had to figure out a way, and our team really experimented with some clever solutions to look at, for example, building the mesh of that ribbon on the fly. So while you're going through the experience, the mesh actually builds.
Yeah.
That didn't work eventually. And the approach that we went for was animating the UV of that mesh. So this might be a bit of a technical story, but it's just one of the many challenges that we had during this project, but a really cool one. And it was just so awesome to see those several expertises from all over the world join together on this project. And as always, it's just such a fun experience to work with a high profile client like this.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to hear the detail behind it and what goes into making those things. From a consumer point of view, or certainly looking at it from the activation point, it just, that kind of Ralph Lauren pony coming to life through that beautiful red ribbon, tied in with kind of the Christmas time theme and the parcels and the presents under the tree. It just felt a real fantastically immersive mix of the tradition of the brand, but the celebration of the holiday at the same time. So it's great to kind of understand that, how you actually go about that and what challenges you face.
Yeah. And one other challenge that we faced was that we had to tackle all the different user journeys that one is able to take. So there's all these different entry points to that lens. There's someone that opens it in the selfie camera. There's someone that opens it in the world camera. There's someone going to be halfway through the experience that switches to the selfie camera and then switches back, and you want the experience to pick back up where you left off. So it's all these different users and different intended uses that you have to take into account.
And again, kind of such a interesting timeline of iterations and testing and learning. It's such a new technology in some ways. Getting those skills and learning what's possible is part of bringing that idea to life and part of the challenge in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's not really an established way of working out there yet. Like there's some best practices that you can find. Like there's requirements of a 3D model that you can find, but there's not really like a distinguished way or like an established way of how one should open a lens in the selfie camera. What should be visible or what shouldn't be visible in that camera. It's just not really out there yet. So it's just so exciting to be on that like bleeding edge of the technology and to be considered. I would consider myself a pioneer in that area.
That I've noticed that you worked on as well in the kind of the retail space, and again talking about that best practice, is the filter that you made with Lancôme, and that virtual try-on piece becoming synonymous almost with any makeup, clothing, fridges, kitchens, sofas, especially during the pandemic. And I wanted to ask you, a little bit about that project, but also if you think that virtual try-on is something that just is essential for retailers to have in their digital toolkit.
I think this really fits in with the try-on trend that we established for 2021. And I think especially with stores still closed because of COVID, it's just such an easy way for your target audience to try out the beauty products, the furniture products, basically any product that you can see or that does something to your face or environment. You're able to try it at home. So I think it really comes down to the product experience and the brand experience that is kind of lacking now, because you can have a flagship store, but when your store is closed, you're going to miss the entire experience of having a flagship store. So you can have entire showrooms filled with the best furniture that you have, but if someone is unable to visit the actual showroom, you're going to miss that experience. So I think it's all about delivering a next level of a product experience and a brand experience. And web shops don't really do it for me. I mean, just looking at like 3 to 5 images of a couch, for example, doesn't really get me to sell it or to buy it. I mean, but if I'm able to try an AR model where I can see the couch and it it takes on the accurate real size in my living room. I mean, if I like the couch, that means I'm sold.
And a couch might be a bit more of a difficult thing to return, but certainly if you can't see the lipstick color, see the, you know, the fit of the jumper, you can't kind of test the hair dye when you're in the store, then actually ordering from home will result in a lot more returns. So it's almost essential from a supply chain and an efficiency point of view, not only from the supply chain of getting items to customers, consumers, and back again, but also the physical supply chain of delivery and trucks and, you know, diesel and the impact that that has on infrastructure and the environment as well. So maybe it's an essential thing, even when we can have that flagship store experience, that we still have that, hold on to the kind of the in-home experience as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you look at clothing, and clothing might be a bit harder to try on right now, even though I know Snapchat is working on some really cool new technologies. But if you look at the average return on clothing, what people do is, because they don't really know whether a size is going to fit, they order 2 or 3 sizes. And then the best case scenario is if one of those 2 or 3 items actually fits, but then you still are stuck with 1 or 2 return items. So it's just never a good scenario, because the returns really cost the retailers a lot of money.
I'm sure a question that clients always ask you, and something that a lot of creators are wondering about, and I'm sure this is discussed a lot between the creator community, is measuring success and the metrics that you share with clients in terms of assuring them that a particular approach is the right one to go down, and of course measuring that after a project as well. Have you got anything that you can help share with the creator community?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge that we run into, as a lot of the social channels that we publish our filters on, they are pretty much restricted in how much analytics they can share. So there's often views, there's scans, and there's shares that you can share. But there's not really like dwell time within an AR experience. It's not really like the web AR experience when you're just able to share any analytics. So I would say, as a piece of advice for the brands, I would say start out small if you're not sure whether the AR filter or AR experience is going to be worth it. It might not have the return on investment that you're expecting it to have. So start out small with a budget that you're comfortable experimenting with. And then just look at the data, like look at the impressions that it gets, look at how it spreads across your social channels, and see if they're happy with it. I think it's a lot like the TV commercials when we were first introduced to them. It's just so hard to measure how many people watch the AR experiences or try the AR experiences, how many people from that experience actually go to the website to complete a purchase. It might not be the same process as just watching an ad, clicking the ad, going to the website, and just finishing a purchase. It might be more of a brand awareness thing, which is just so much harder to prove.
Because
so
it's all
the
part
view,
of the mix. It's all
yeah,
part of that mix of getting that person to take the ultimate action that you want them to do, in different, you know, for different brands, different companies, different scenarios. But I suppose also what we have in terms of benefit is that we have more and more applications of immersive technologies and extended realities coming out, and more to learn from, kind of case studies, and to understand where some others have seen success before, or kind of what type of metrics they've managed to achieve as a bit of a benchmark. But I imagine being the first to do many of these things is difficult to gauge what success is, and how do we know that we're doing this right or wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing to not limit that success is that I would say, if you're trying something, so if you're experimenting with a first AR experience, don't be shy with it. Put enough weight behind it so it actually gets out there and gets seen by people, because you have to give it a chance to live and to spread across the social channels. So make it visible, post it to your stories, link to it from email campaigns, etc. I think as a general tip for creators, I would say always keep the end user in mind. So it's often a challenge with brands that we have to tell them, like, it's not going to be an advertisement per se. You really want to focus on adding value for the end user instead of just slapping your brand logo on the top right corner and that's it. It shouldn't feel like an ad. It should feel like a fun experience that adds something to their lives. And I think if you can get that right, you'll have multiple millions of views just awaiting you.
Is there anything that you can kind of share with us that you're excited about that's going to be coming out later this year?
I can't really share any client projects, but I do know what I just mentioned with Snapchat. They purchased a new company which really nails down the fitting of web shops. They are implemented on some bigger web shops. I'm not sure which one right now, but I think that really is something promising, because when Snapchat really allows like an accurate fitting of a coat or of a t-shirt, or you could just try it on in AR and purchase it right then and there. I think that's really powerful. We, as an official partner with Snapchat, also have access to a new alpha build that lets you create hair modifiers. It's a really cool piece of technology where you can have strains of hair react to physics and move and follow your head with like the movements that you make. So let me just put on right now. This is one of those. As you can see, this one was built by Luca. This is just something so cool. You can build curls, you can build long hair, short hair, really whatever, and it will always move with the movements of your face. I think that really nails like one of the core functionalities of like the core foundations of how AR should work. It should really be part of your environment and part of you as a person and how you move in your environment.
Yeah. So one day I might be sat here, this hair might not be real, this t-shirt might be not really there. They could all be digital elements that are just seen by somebody on a screen, through a pair of glasses. And
yeah, exactly. We've just gone full circle to the Gucci sneakers again.
we have.
Yeah. I think some other cool features that we are working with are full body tracking on Lens Studio by Snapchat as well. Machine learning. We have some really cool machine learning projects dropping soon. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting new quarter.
What will the machine learning enable us to do as users? How will you apply that? Or is that something that is being tested and worked on at the moment? Kind of back to the new technology, you're still figuring out how to apply it.
I think to put it in a really basic way, you're able to detect basically anything. And it's not really going to add much value to you as a user to be able to detect anything, but it allows you to, as a developer, it allows you to like have a set of images and train a model to detect, for example, feet. So you as a user can then recognize your feet and place a 3D model of a shoe on your feet. But on the developer side, it will also allow us to detect pizza, for example. And then as a user, you can aim at the pizza and the Snapchat lens will know, oh, okay, this is a pizza, so I do something with it. So it's really what you do with it as a developer and as a creator that will end up adding value for the user. But I think the virtual try-on and just making things part of you and part of your environment, that's going to be one of the biggest developments that you'll see.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing it. And
Me
thank
too.
you so much for talking me through your work. It's been a
Sure
pleasure.
thing. Thank you too.